कमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone back again to the continuation of our Bhagavad Gita theme. So we are looking something from second chapter today, the middle part of the second chapter. So before we jump into the verses and discuss based on that, as always, we will look at Yamunacharya's summary verse for the second chapter and then jump into today's discussion. Right, so here it is. I'll just, so this is part of, just to recap, this is part of a small book of Sripad Yamunacharya titled Gitartha Sangraha. It contains only about 20 odd verses, and there's almost just one verse per chapter which he summarizes, beautiful summaries. And here it is, verse number 6, which is a summary of the second chapter. Nityatma Sangya Karme ha gochara Sankhya Yoga Dihi Dvitiye Sthitadhi Laksha Prokta Tanmoha Shante. So this is a verse that is set to summarize the second chapter, Dvitiye. So what are the things that Krishna is speaking in the second chapter? Yamunacharya says, Nityatma, how the Atma is eternal. That is first concept. Asanga Karme ha. Asanga karme means this karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That means nishkama karma yoga, asanga karme. That means you have to do karma but without sangha for the fruit. Sankhya yoga dihi. So thus he says there are three things. There is Sankhya, which is the first part, which is the knowledge. Then there is yoga, that is karma yoga, and dihi. Dihi is jnana, which is in the last part of the second chapter. If you remember, we discussed that last time. Beginning with Sthita Dhir, those verses, we discussed that last time. Sankhya Yoga Dihi. Dvitiye, the second chapter, Sthita Dhi Laksha. The goal of the second chapter is to make one Sthita Dhir, Muni Lakshanam, that Sthita Dhi. Proktat and Moha Shante, and to remove the illusions of Arjuna. So this is why Krishna spoke the second chapter as per Sripad Yamunacharya, correct? So this is the verse that summarizes. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at, some verses, the Ramanujacharya's translation, some verses based on the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, so the middle part. So as Yamunacharya has already stated, there are three parts to the second chapter. The first part is Sankhya, which is from literally till 2.30, where Krishna speaks about Atma Tattva, etc. Then in the middle part, from 2.31 onwards till about 2.53, Krishna is speaking about yoga. And then in the final part, he's speaking about Sthitadhi. So there are three topics. So there is knowledge given, then there is karma yoga, and then finally there is jnana yoga in a way, right? So all three are being covered. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to look at the middle part today. Yeah, so this is 31. Swadharmam api chavekshana vikampitum arhasi dharmat yudhyat shreyon yat kshatriyasya vidyate. Okay, so this is a translation of Sripad Ramanujacharya. Further also, after considering your own duty in accordance with the Vedas, you ought not to waver from fighting in the war that has begun, because for a warrior there does not exist anything better than fighting in a righteous war. Okay, so I wish to commence today's discussion with a theme about the importance of ahankar or false ego. So this is very, very interesting if you think about it. In the beginning part of the second chapter, Krishna speaks about Atma Tattva, which we all know. But immediately after speaking about Atma Tattva, generally, when we hear Atma Tattva, we think that the person is speaking Atma Tattva to tell us to stop acting as per the body and just act as per the Atma and so on, right? I mean, this is a normal conclusion that most people will get. If you give a lecture on how we are not the body or the soul, and the body is temporary, the soul is eternal, and so on, if you give a talk like this anywhere, then person at the end of the talk will conclude that perhaps the speaker wants us to act as per Atma and not the body, correct? But interestingly, immediately after speaking about the Atma, Krishna is invoking the Kshatriya nature of Arjuna. Right? He's saying that, hey, Arjuna, you're a Kshatriya and there is nothing better for you than fighting a righteous war. So that's it. You need to fight. Okay, so it looks as if, oh my goodness, so this looks like an anticlimax, right? Because someone may think that after all this talk about Atma, we were expecting to hear that, just because you're the Atma and you're not the body, so just forget everything about the body. Don't act in any bodily consciousness, or don't act in relation to your body, and just go beyond it, or something like that is what we would expect. But Krishna isn't doing that, right? So in a way, Krishna, immediately after speaking about Atma Tattva, he's bringing the body back into the equation by saying that you're a Kshatriya, and thus there is nothing better than fighting for you here. So this is very interesting because Krishna is invoking different emotions at different places in his speech to Arjuna, right? So when he was speaking about Sankhya Yoga, that was more an intellectual conversation, one may say, about the difference between body, soul, and so on. But now, basically, in this section, what Krishna begins to do is he is addressing the false ego of Arjuna. Generally, when we hear this term false ego, I'm sure, I'm sure, most of us, we would, one second, I think my screen only was not shared till now. Yeah, now only it is shared. No one told me that, but anyway. Okay. So what I was saying is, generally when we hear terms like false ego, I'm sure most of us would conclude that false ego means it has to be given up. Ahankar, actually ahankar is the word. Ahankar must be given up. But at least in this section of the Gita, Krishna is not asking him, Krishna is addressing the ahankar of Arjuna actually. That means from 2.31 to 2.38. Okay, we will look at some more verses also, and then we will discuss this theme. So look at the next verse. Yadrichya chopapannam swargadwaram apavratam sukina kshatriya partha labante yuddham idrisham. Oh Arjuna, the son of Pritha, this type of war which has reached you while being unsought for and is the means to attain moksha. Ramanuja translates here Swargam as moksha because he says that the war is such that all these people are going to get moksha, and Gita is a moksha shastra. So it is going to give moksha to you. So like that he translates. But anyway, that's fine. Without any obstacles is attained only by fortunate warriors. Then look at what he says. Achatetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishati tata swadharmam kirtim chahitva papamavapsasi. If, however, you do not participate in this righteous war, then you will be abandoning your results of your duty in accordance with the Vedas, and your reputation will be incurring the sin of abandoning your ordained duty. Okay. And then he says, Akirtim chapi bhutane kataishanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranadatirichate. If you look at all these verses, Krishna is addressing the ego of Arjuna. Look at what he says here. And even ordinary people will be speaking your everlasting infamy that Arjuna ran away scared from the battle. For a respectable person like you, who are known for your strength, courage, etc., infamy is worse than death. And it's going to be so terrible for you that, right, people are going to scorn you and basically say that this fellow ran away. Look at some other verses. I'll just go through the verses and then start the discussion. Dayadranaduparatam mansinte tvam maharataha yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva yashasi lagava. The great warriors by whom you have being held in high esteem will now think of you as having fled from the battlefield out of fear. Thus you will attain smallness in your value from their perspective. Now, they are all going to scorn you, thinking that she darpuk Arjun. Avachya vadamsha bahun vadishyanti tavahitah nindante tava samartyam tata dukkataram nukim. Your enemies will speak denigrating your strength, using many harsh words. What indeed is more painful than listening to this? हत्वा वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा मोक्षसे महीम् तस्माद् उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः. O son of Kunti, if you get killed in this righteous war, you will attain mukti, or while winning the battle, you will enjoy the kingdom on earth. Therefore, rise with determination to fight. Okay, so yeah, so the only one major difference between Ramanujacharya's translation and Prabhupada's translation, as we know, is Ramanujacharya translates Swargam as mukti in this section, because he basically says that this is Gita is a moksha shastra, and Arjuna had already rejected Swarga before. So, and we all know that all those who died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they actually attain moksha. You know, they don't just go to some Swarga, but eventually they all attain mukti. So he says that we can use Swargam as mukti. But anyway, that's fine. But other than that, the translations are pretty similar everywhere. But the theme that we wish to address here is that it is so surprising, and let us again think about this. After speaking so much about Atma, Krishna is addressing ego of the person, which basically means that, please try to understand, ego is not to be rejected. Okay, nobody can say that one has to give up ahankar completely, because it is not possible. Okay, so let us try to understand why ahankar is needed. Okay, so one definition which I heard here is that how you express yourself in this world comes from ahankar. Okay, I repeat again, how we express ourselves in this world comes from our ahankar only. Okay, that being the case, ahankar can never be negated. Nobody can say that, oh, this ahankar is to be given up. So I will talk about it. What is the ahankar that is to be given up? Okay, so that also comes in the Gita. Like, for example, if you see the 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna basically says in the end that if you act out of false ego and decline to fight, then you will. Okay, I'll just read that. Now look at this verse. This is 18.59. Yad ahankaram ashritya na yotse iti manyase mithyasya vyavasayasthe prakritis swam niyokshati. Krishna is saying, if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Then look at 60th verse. Krishna says, under illusion, you are not declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born out of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. Okay, so basically, in this, even in the previous verse, 58th verse, Matchitta sarva durgani mat prasada tarishati, that verse also, Krishna is saying, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over obstacles of conditional life by my grace. If however,
excitement है ना, कुछ excitement है.
Sorry, I think there is. Okay, I'll just mute everybody currently so that there's no disturbance. Yeah. If however you do not work in such consciousness but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Okay, so this is, this in the last part of this 18th chapter, Krishna does speak about this ahankar part, right? Where he's saying, so one may say in this part of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter from 31 to 37, Krishna seems to be encouraging, or he seems to be speaking more from the perspective of addressing the false ego of Arjuna. But in the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that, hey, look, don't act according to your ahankar. So how do we reconcile? Okay, so we reconcile by saying that, this ahankar, this ahankar, there is a refinement in ahankar, and there is a wrong type of an ahankar. So this ahankar, which is born out of this idea that I know better than the scriptures. Okay, I know better than scriptures. I know better than the eternal instructions of Krishna, which tell every living entity to work in this world as per their own nature. So if somebody thinks I know better than that and I know dharma better than that, then that kind of ahankar which is there, right? That is what is being condemned by Krishna towards the end of the Gita, where someone thinks he is more smarter than the Vedic injunctions. Okay. And he thinks that, I have my own understanding of how I should act in this world. And hence, none of this is applicable to me. If someone thinks like that, that type of completely misdirected ahankar which is there has been condemned by Krishna. But if you see, there is this ahankar which is born out of one's legitimate nature. Okay, that means a kshatriya who is there, he wants to fight, he wants to rule. Okay, this is a very strong nature in a kshatriya, right? A kshatriya cannot tolerate insult. In fact, whatever Krishna is saying now, it actually becomes true, right? In the Mahabharata, we see that later once, I think it was during when Yudhishthir had gone to the camp, gone back, and he was expecting that Arjuna will kill Karna soon, and Arjuna knew that Yudhishthir was injured or something, so he comes to see Yudhishthir. When Arjuna comes, that time Yudhishthir says, "Oh, so happy to see you, Arjuna. I'm sure you have killed Karna by now." Arjuna says, "No, I haven't. I've just come to see you." So actually, Yudhishthir becomes very angry. He says, "What nonsense! You just throw your Gandiva. You're completely useless. You can't do anything which is to be done." And at that point of time, Arjuna becomes so angry. He says, "I've taken a vow that anybody who tells me to put my Gandiva down, I will kill him," and so on. And Krishna actually comes in the middle and says that, "Okay, listen, just chill, both of you, a little bit." He tells Arjuna that, "Okay, you do one thing, you just speak some harsh words to Arjuna, address him as a first person without respect, because that is as good as killing a superior." Okay, so Krishna does something and kind of sorts the matter out. But what you see in that section also is the same point that Krishna is warning Arjuna in this section in the Gita, that the ahankar of a kshatriya which is there, right, this is never going to go. Okay, this can only be refined. But one will have to act in accordance with that. So what we understand is, if someone says, blindly to say that give up false ego totally, this is not a possibility only. Actually, no one can say this, that, "Oh, just give up your false ego." In fact, if somebody uses this in their preaching also, sometimes we see that also, right? Somebody is counseling someone and he's just telling you, "Give up your false ego." No, you cannot do that. That ahankar which is there, which is born out of one's nature, because of which one wants to act in a particular way in this world, you cannot give that up. Okay, so nobody can do that. What you can do is this false type of ahankar which is coming out, where one thinks that one is more smarter than the Vedic injunctions, and one thinks that I know better what to do, and not giving importance to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, one is trying to do something in life. That kind of misdirected ahankar has to be given up. And that is exactly what Krishna is saying at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So this is important because if you carefully think about it, everybody in the world operates based on ahankar only. Even if in fact, sometimes it is said that most of the sannyasis in general, I'm saying, not just about our organization or specific, in general, they have a lot of ahankar as well, in terms of their matha, their guru, whatever. I'm just making a general comment about a sannyasi or mathadish in a general sense of in the Indian culture that we see. Everyone, they have a lot of ego about their matha, the importance of their matha. If you say something against it, they don't like it. They may say that, "Oh, this is not ego for ourselves, this is for our matha or our movement or sampradaya or whatever." But that is nothing but that ahankar getting connected like that. So it is existing. Okay, the point is that ahankar in itself cannot be given up. It can be refined, right? It can be connected to dharma. It can be connected to Vedic injunctions. And that is exactly what our Krishna is telling Arjuna. That you are a kshatriya, so you connect your ahankar to the Vedic injunctions, and abiding by that you function in the world. Okay, you don't think that you can give up your nature as a kshatriya. And that is very prophetic. That's why I quoted the example of Yudhishthir and that misunderstanding that happens between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Arjun, right, later in the Gita. because it was very well noted that no, they couldn't, both of them, they had that ahankar in them of Kshatriya. That is never going to go. Okay, so let us try to understand some things. So some more definitions here. So this is from Govind Prabhu. So he basically says that ahankar, so I'm repeating this point again. He says ahankar gives you a particular identity. It tells you how you will, he says ahankar helps you understand how you will function in this world. Okay, so that is the role of ahankar. Buddhi, which is there, gives boundary to ahankar. Okay, so this ahankar needs a boundary, right? Otherwise, it can just go in any direction. So you need buddhi that gives boundary. Aham Brahmasmi, which is there, that means our Atma Tattva understanding, that gives us a spiritual identity. Okay, who am I? In terms of that identity, it gives you. Okay. But it is not from the perspective of how you operate in the world. Because how you operate in the world has to be according to your Ahankar only. That cannot be out of your Atma Tattva. Okay. Ahankar only allows you to express yourself in the world. And this concept of aham dasosmi, which is there, this is for giving us humility in this world. Okay, so all these things have importance. Right? Aham dasosmi from the perspective of humility, aham brahmasmi from the perspective of identity, the spiritual identity, the eternal identity of ourselves. How can we forget that no matter who we are a servant of Krishna, and we need to connect to Krishna, we need to chant his names, we need to act in Krishna consciousness. So that is aham brahmasmi, it comes from that. But this ahankar which is there, that basically tells us how we express ourselves in this world. And ultimately, buddhi is to give a boundary to that. So all these things have their importance, right? So in fact, that's why you will see in the Bhagavatam also, that when Dhruva Maharaj comes in presence of Narad Muni, and Narad Muni initially preaches to him, right? If you carefully see, the initial preaching of Narad Muni to Dhruva Maharaj was against his ahankar. See, because please try to understand, Dhruva Maharaj started to the forest with that ahankar, right? I am a Kshatriya. And how is it that I got insulted like this by my stepmother? I want a kingdom bigger than my grandfather or great grandfather. So it was with that ahankar that he went out. So Narad Muni initially told him, hey, come on, don't take these things very seriously, man. You're just a child. And, he told him some things. And we know that Dhruva rejected it. He said that, see, whatever you say may be making sense, but I can't hear all this right now. If you have a method of telling me how I can become greater than my grandfather, tell me that. Otherwise, please leave away. That's what Dhruva says. And then Narad Muni understands that, yes, this fellow, he cannot be moved away from. And Narad Muni doesn't say. So Narad Muni then teaches him how to worship Krishna in Vrindavan so that he can achieve his desires and all. And the most important thing is, when Narad Muni comes back to Uttanapada, there is a beautiful verse in the Bhagavatam which starts where Narad Muni says, Aho Teja Kshatriyanam. You can go back and read that. So Narad Muni comes and tells Uttanapada, Aho Teja Kshatriyanam, Manabham, these Kshatriyas, what kind of nature these people have? Such a big ego, such big man, मैं इतना बड़ा आदमी हूँ, मुझे कैसा किसी ने insult किया? Please try to understand that verse which Narad Muni speaks, Aho Teja Kshatriyanam, he doesn't speak that verse in a disparaging sense. He's not intending to criticize the Kshatriyas in that verse. Please note, that was not the goal of that verse. The goal of that verse is Narad Muni is appreciating, hey, come on, what Teja these Kshatriyas have. Right, a small boy also, but that Kshatriya blood which is there in him, it is so strong that he cannot tolerate any insult, and he wants a great kingdom, he wants power, all this, right? So it is being appreciated by Narad Muni. So again, we see the same point, that ahankar in itself, whether it is Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam, is not asking us to give it up in that sense. Like sometimes we think, give it up, matlab, pura hi chhod do. No, it is not like that. You can only give up the false type of ahankar that comes, where you think you're smarter than Guru Sadhu Shastra. No one can be smarter than the Vedic injunctions. Everyone is bound in this world by the Vedic injunctions, right? So Yamaraj also says that in the Bhagavatam. Just like a bull, it is, I think the 6th canto that verse comes, right? Just like a bull in its nose, it is tied by that rope and it has to abide. So similarly, he says, everybody is bound by Vedic injunctions in this world. Nobody can think that I'm smarter than that. So And as per the Vedic injunctions, as per our own Swadharma, we have to express ourselves in the world. That ahankar, no one has a right to take that from us. I mean, because that is also ahankar only. Please remember, that is also coming from this term, because of the ahankar which is there, so that's an ego, right? And that is temporary because you're a kshatriya only for this life or whatever. But still, that has been accepted. And that's exactly what Krishna is also saying here, right? So none of these things are going to be cancelled. Okay, and you see this today also in this world. One devotee was saying that even in the army today, sometimes some soldiers, if they are not sent to a critical mission, they actually become very upset with their boss. They say, oh, boss, why did you not send me for this very critical mission? Now, why did you, just stop me from going? Please let me participate in a critical mission for our country, etc. So this is there in everyone, right? So even in a Vaishya, in Vaishya, ahankar comes in a different way. He wants money, correct? He can, like if you see this Gujarati or Marwadi people, they can risk their money to any extent to make more money. That is also ahankar only being expressed in the world, correct? Okay, please remember, a kshatriya may risk his life. Risking life and risking money are two different things. But if you maybe you may find an army officer, he may be ready to risk his life in battle. But if you ask him, can you put all your money in this business? He'll say, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so that these are two different things. It is ahankar being expressed in different ways, correct? So it is all ahankar only, whether it is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. It is about way of expressing yourself. And that nobody can actually stop anyone from doing that. One can just refine it. So that's why also, right, we were having this discussion about these devotees who made that video, right, recently, that music which I was talking about in the QA group as well. So it's like, see, they have that ahankar, right? It's an ahankar only. It is a way of expressing. Someone can write nice poetry, someone can sing very nicely. It is an ahankar. It is how they wish to express themselves in this world. That one has to only connect with dharma. One cannot say that you cannot express yourself like that, or you should not express yourself at all. Just sit quiet. No, you cannot do that. That goes against the teachings of the Gita here. In fact, Krishna is saying that if you try that artificially, it will inevitably come out. Okay, so these sections of the Gita teach us something so practical in life about how one needs to look at these topics, right, about ahankar. Okay, now I'm just going ahead to the next theme. So this is one theme that I wanted to discuss today, but there's another theme as well. Okay, so we will discuss the second theme as well, and then I will open up to questions. So actually, we'll just go back to Ramanujacharya's commentary. Yeah. So then 38th verse, look at what Krishna is saying. Sukha dukkha samay kritva labha labha jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam apsasi. Treating alike happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, which is the cause of happiness, sorrow, victory and defeat, which is the cause for gain and loss. Thereafter, engage yourself for the fight. Fighting in this manner, you will not attain samsara. Okay, so it's a very interesting translation. So what Ramanuja says here is, Sukha dukkha is happiness and distress. Labha alabha is the cause of happiness and distress. And how do you get labha alabha? From victory and defeat, right? Because when you're victorious, there is gain. When there is gain, there is happiness. Okay, so that is how he is talking about these three pairs: Sukha dukkha, labha alabha, and jaya jaya. You can see the translation on the screen, right? So basically, so one thing Ramanujacharya says that the one essential focus in the second chapter is duality, this dvandva. He uses the word dvandva, which in English is duality, because he says that repeatedly Krishna in the beginning, middle, and even till the end, he is again and again repeatedly talking about the necessity for tolerating duality. It is not only 2.14 that Krishna spoke about duality. Here again, he's speaking about duality, saying that, hey, look, these things are going to come in this world. Don't get too bogged down by all this, right? So you cannot, and so this is one very essential teaching which is hammering again and again, asking us to kind of tolerate this duality. And another thing which it will lead to is samatva yoga. This Krishna will talk about in 2.48, but we have already discussed it in great detail in the 5th chapter, Samatva Yoga, 6th chapter also. Samatva Yoga means the yoga by which you see things equally. Okay, so there are 3 things that Krishna talks about it. That means first thing, see situations equally, like happiness, distress, etc. See people equally, like whether it is a friend, dog, cat, elephant, all that. And then see, all objects also equally, whether it is gold, pebble, everything. Okay, and this Samatva Yoga, how does it come? If you ask the question, it comes by practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, so that is how it is. So the logic is, first there is some knowledge, then one has to practice Karma Yoga with 3 principles, which we have hammered a lot when we spoke about 3rd chapter. I'm just recapping that for everyone's benefit. The 3 principles that Krishna spoke, first is Nishkama, second is for welfare of the people in general, that is Loka Sangraha, and third thing is not thinking that I am the doer. That means I'm just an instrument. Modes of material nature. Because of modes of material nature, I have a body, and that is why my body is doing some things in this world. But I'm not, that means to give that up, the conception that I am the person doing everything. Akritratva Anusandhanam, as Ramanuja says. These 3 things. So this is the consciousness of a Karma Yogi. So repeatedly as a Karma Yogi, if I practice these 3 principles in my life of Karma Yoga, then I come to Samatva Yoga. So Samatva Yoga means where I start seeing all these equally. Okay, so please remember, here Krishna has only mentioned it, but later in the 3rd chapter it gets elaborated, Karma Yoga. 5th chapter it gets even elaborated. And at the end of 5th chapter, in 5.18 onwards, Krishna again starts talking about Samatva Yoga, correct? Where he talks about 5.18 verse. See a learned sage by virtue of his knowledge sees a dog, Chandala, dog eater, Brahmana, everything equally, correct? In that particular verse. So from there onwards, Krishna talks about Samatva Yoga. So Samatva Yoga is a result of practicing Karma Yoga properly. Okay, and Karma Yoga is to be practiced in line with the Vedic injunctions, understanding what they are and what the Vedic injunctions are, which are applicable to me, and then practicing it with these 3 parameters which I just said. Okay, so Gita has actually made it pretty easy and pretty logical in the way it connects everything. Okay, so now we are going ahead in the Gita, seeing some other verse now. So look at 2.39 here. Okay, so this is 2.39. Esha te bhita sankhya buddhi yoge tuvam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha kanda karma bandhan prahasyasi. O Partha, the requisite knowledge in the matter regarding the Jivatma was imparted unto you until now. Now listen to the knowledge regarding Karma Yoga. By being equipped with such knowledge, you will be able to rid of the shackles of samsara, which is caused by karma. Again, very similar to Prabhupada's translation that we have all read and we know, where Krishna is talking about, where here Krishna is making the point that he has spoken about Atma Tattva already, but now he's going to talk about Karma Yoga. So if you remember the Yamunacharya's verse that we started with, 2nd chapter, 3 things Krishna is speaking. Atma Tattva in the beginning, Karma Yoga in the middle, Jnana Yoga at the end. So all 3 he's speaking. So now onwards, Krishna is saying he's going to talk about Karma Yoga. Okay, and but while saying that, Ramanujacharya, one point he makes this buddhya, this word buddhi that comes here in this verse, buddhya yukto ya partha. So Ramanujacharya says this buddhya, this word can apply to Sankhya also and Yoga also, this buddhi also. Esha te bhita sankhya buddhi yoge tumam shrunu. So he says this word buddhi, which is there right in the middle, it applies to Sankhya also and it applies to Yoga also. So that means he says that for Sankhya also, it is involving buddhi because it involves the understanding, right type of understanding. And Yoga also involves buddhi because Yoga, that means Karma Yoga, one is not supposed to do Karma Yoga mindlessly. One is supposed to do Karma Yoga with knowledge. Okay, and as we see later, because we have already seen the other chapters, Krishna is going to combine all these yogas into one thing, right? Because Arjuna has to do everything. He has to do Karma Yoga with the Jnana, okay, and then progress, and then do Ashtanga Yoga, do Bhakti Yoga, etc. So basically, this is how Krishna has presented the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so why now one question can be raised here. After speaking all this Atma Tattva, why doesn't Krishna directly go to the Jnana Yoga part? This Sthita Dhir Lakshana, right? The last part of 2nd chapter, which talks about Sthita Dhir Muni. Why is Krishna bringing? So Krishna spoke in the beginning of second chapter about Sankhya, that means about Atma Tattva, and in the end Krishna spoke about Jnana Yoga, that be like Dukkeshwanad Vignamana, Sukeshu Vigataspruha, all those verses, Apuryamana Machala Pratishtham, all that he spoke in the end. So somebody may say, logically, if you just speak about Atma Tattva, directly you can come to Jnana Yoga. Na? You can just sit and, just be a sage within. Why do you need this middle step at all? Or why do you need it in the first place, right? Why is this Karma Yoga got in the middle? After speaking that you are not the body, Krishna is going to talk about Karma Yoga, where you're supposed to act according to your body. Okay, so this point I had said earlier also. So why like that? Okay, so this again and again, this point is very important to understand, that as per the Bhagavad Gita psychology, you cannot give up action. Okay, action according to your nature is never to be given up. This is something that Krishna is emphasizing till the end, till the 18th chapter. Action is never to be given up. Okay, according to your nature, according to dharma. Okay, one is never supposed to give up that. One is supposed to give up only the wrong understandings, but action one has to always do. And while doing the action, you are supposed to contemplate on that knowledge with it, and thus become a sage. This is the beautiful process of Bhagavad Gita, where there is so much of high philosophical talk being given, but at the same time, Krishna is not giving up action only. Krishna is not going to allow. Okay, so now Krishna is going to talk about Karma Yoga. But before he talks about Karma Yoga, what Krishna is going to do in a few verses is talk about the glories of Karma Yoga. Because somebody may say, okay, you're talking Karma Yoga. Why should I do Karma Yoga? What is the greatness of that? Okay, so that is why the glories of Karma Yoga. And for 2.40, Ramanujacharya has a very brilliant commentary and very beautiful examples, which we will talk about before we go ahead. Neha Vikramanasosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Salpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. So I'll read his translation and then we will discuss. In this matter of Karma Yoga, there does not exist wastage in the beginning, an attempt, and somehow stopping it. Also, there is no sin due to incomplete performance. Even a little practice of this Karma Yoga will protect one from the great danger of samsara. Okay, so please try to understand. So this verse which is there, Neha Vikramanasosti, this certainly applies to devotional service. Those of us who read Prabhupada's purport, we know that Prabhupada talks about devotional service in this context of 2.40. Okay, nobody is challenging that, perfectly fine. But here in the context of Karma Yoga, because Karma Yoga is being discussed currently, Bhakti Yoga discussion has not yet started. That is why Ramanujacharya, what he's doing here is, he is saying that there is no loss in the path of Karma Yoga also. So that means this rule of Neha Vikramanasosti not only applies to Bhakti Yoga, but it applies to Karma Yoga also. So so it is to be understood like that, right? It applies to the higher yogas also. It obviously applies to Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. But it applies to Karma Yoga also. Now, how we will see that? And there are some very beautiful examples given here. So, first thing, Ramanujacharya, using the words, he says, Na iha abhikramanasosti. Abhikramana means, he says, something that is started. Anything that is started is called abhikramana. Nashosti means anything that is started doesn't have an end. Na asti. Na asti means there does not exist. So, Ramanujacharya says, if you just look at the first line, Na iha abhikrama nashosti. What it means is, anything that is started in Karma Yoga does not have an end. If you just look at this part of this line, it can be a little confusing. Somebody may say, what does this mean? Anything that is started in Karma Yoga does not have an end. Iska matlab kya hua? Because in Karma Yoga, somebody is doing yajna, somebody is doing dana, charity, this, that. It will end, na? When you start a yajna, it will end one day. It will end in some time. Like a Kshatriya is starting a war, that war will also end. A Brahmana is going to do a yajna, that yajna will also end at some time. What does it mean by saying that anything that is started in Karma Yoga does not have an end? So Ramanuja says, what it means is, anything that is started in Karma Yoga will not end without giving you the results. Okay, so that part is kind of implicit in that line. Okay, Na iha abhikramanashosti means anything that is started in Karma Yoga will not end without giving you the result. Now somebody may say, but if I start a yajna and I complete a yajna, I should get the result. So again, the second meaning here is, an additional meaning here is, if you start something in Karma Yoga and do not complete it also, that means you left it halfway through, then also it will surely give you a result. Okay, so please try to understand this. So na iha abhikarma nashosti means two things. One is, anything in Karma Yoga doesn't end, which means it doesn't end or it is not spoiled without giving you a result. That means anything in Karma Yoga will surely give you a result. First thing. Second thing is, even if that aspect of Karma Yoga was not complete, so to speak, right? As in, I mean, just imagine a Brahmana is there. He started doing a yajna for a few days. And in the middle of the yajna, something happened. He lost his life or something. And somebody may say, yajna to khatam nahi kiya usne. How will he get the benefit of the yajna? So the understanding is, because you are doing that as karma yoga, you will get the result of that. Okay, even though you could not complete it. So for this, Ramanuja gives a beautiful example from the Puranas. He says that in the Puranas there is a story. Okay, this is quoted by Parashara Muni, where he says that, because see, I'll tell you why this discussion is important. Because generally the idea is that in karma, in normal karma, if you start anything, you have to complete it. In fact, it is said that if somebody starts some yajna from a karma perspective and he doesn't complete it, he gets a sinful reaction. So this applies to whom? That means somebody who does any karma with the intention that I want to enjoy the fruit. Okay, that means without the attributes of Karma Yoga. So what are the attributes of Karma Yoga? I'm reminding again, 3 attributes. One is done without expectation of fruit, as a matter of duty, done for the benefit of society, Samaj. And third is with the conscious idea that I am not the doer, Prakriti is the doer. I am just an instrument trying to do something, right? 3.27 Bhagavad Gita. Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani. So with these 3 qualities, one is supposed to do one's karma yoga in the world. Okay, so if suppose somebody doesn't do with these 3 qualities, that means somebody is doing karma with the expectation of enjoying and so on, then there is another result. Then for him, this verse is not applicable because he's not a yogi, he's not a karma yogi. So with this, Ramanujacharya gives the example quoting Parashara about one great devotee. It seems he was fasting every Ekadashi. This is a Puranic story. So this person was fasting every Ekadashi. His name in Tamil is Nampaduvan. That means one who always sings about Krishna. So it is said that once a Brahma Rakshas caught him and was about to eat him. So this Brahmin told him that, see, do one thing, today is Ekadashi. So today night I had made a resolution that for the pleasure of Krishna, I'm going to sing whole night. Okay, so let me sing today night, whole night for Krishna. And tomorrow I will certainly come to you and you can eat me up, no problem. So initially it is said that Rakshas was not willing to let him go because he was thinking, how will he come tomorrow? How will I catch him again? But then somehow the Rakshas felt that, oh, this Brahmin is really very genuine. Maybe really he will come back. So he left him. And the next day, actually, the Brahmin comes back after Ekadashi, after following Ekadashi Vrata, where whole night he was singing for the pleasure of Krishna. This Brahmin, he comes back next day to the Rakshas. And the Rakshas was shocked, actually. Okay. And the Purana explains that simply by meeting this Brahmin, this Rakshasa gets delivered. And the story of this Brahmin is given. This Rakshas is given. This Rakshas, it seems, he was a Brahmin in his previous life, whose name was Soma Sharma. And he did a 5-day yajna with the intention that I want to go to heaven. So please try to understand. The Soma Sharma started a yajna thinking that mujhe abhi kuch pleasure chahiye, I want to go to heavenly planet. So that is why he started this yajna. And he died before day 5. Okay, that means he died before completing the yajna. And as per the Vedic idea that if you start a yajna like that and you don't complete it, you get sinful reaction also. And that is why he had to become a Brahma Rakshas. But by meeting a devotee who was not at all greedy for fruits, correct? Because this person whom he met, he was not just a karma yogi, he was a great devotee, he was a Vaishnava as well. Okay, so this person gets relieved. This Rakshas also gets relieved by meeting this Brahmin. His heart gets changed and he gets mukti from his Rakshas body. So Ramanujacharya uses this example to say this is the difference between karma and karma yoga. Okay, when one is doing karma, even if you are doing Vedic rituals, thinking that you want some fruit, then you are stuck. If you don't complete it, that is why it is said that anybody who would do Vedic ritual, they would check their horoscope to check whether they have a life. Otherwise, if they would start one yajna and they will stop in the middle, there is a problem. One is not. That's why there is a sankalpa done. You have to complete that ritual. You cannot simply get up from there, right? It brings negative reactions. So this is the glory of karma yoga. Krishna is saying here that in this karma yoga process, if you actually follow the process of karma yoga, even if you could not complete it, no problem. You will get the benefit of it. Krishna gives you, and the same concept Krishna repeats in the 6th chapter, which we have, by the way, already done, right? Where Krishna talks about the yogi, that yogi, there he's talking about Ashtanga yogi. See, please remember the beauty. In this chapter, Krishna is talking about karma yogi, and in the 6th chapter, Krishna is talking about Ashtanga yogi. By saying that the Ashtanga yogi who doesn't complete the path, he doesn't become like a riven cloud. Rather, he gets the benefit of going to heavenly planets. So if you remember, there also we discussed a similar point. Ramanujacharya, there also he says that, Are, this person, he has not done a yajna to go to heavenly planets. Ramanujacharya is asking in the context of that verse. Prapya punya kritam lokan, 6.41 I'm talking. Right? So Ramanujacharya says that, Are, prapya punya kritam lokan, how does this person go to heavenly planet? Because to go to heavenly planet, generally you're supposed to do some yajna na, to go to heavenly planet. That yajna is not done only by this person. He's doing Ashtanga yoga over here. How does he get? No, but that's the beauty. Okay, this person has started something. Krishna says that, Are, this person has started yoga, let us give him something. Okay, so he gets benefit without even doing or without even completing something. This is the greatness of yoga. Okay, because see, again, if you think about it carefully now, it makes a lot of sense also, right? Because anything which is yoga, it is connected to our mind. And when we say it is connected to our mind is not destroyed at death, correct? So our mind is going to come with us to our next life also. So if somebody has developed a particular way, a particular thought process, okay, that thought process of how you act in this world, that is there with you in your next life, correct? So that comes with you. And as far as the benefits are concerned, Krishna just gives it without even that person completing it. So these are the glories of karma yoga that Krishna starts talking. And again, let us remember again that all these glories apply to bhakti yoga as well, correct? I mean, it applies to all yoga systems, right? That's why in Prabhupada's purport, you will see it in terms of Krishna consciousness, he talks. Because that is also there. Somebody starts chanting the holy name. Somebody starts the process of bhakti, but he couldn't complete it for some reason, right? Even such a person, Krishna can give him the benefit of whatever he has done, right? Krishna can give him extra mercy, take him back, or whatever. I mean, there is no loss in it. That's the whole point, right? He gets benefit. He is going to get benefit, even though he has not completed the yoga process. Okay, so in this way, Krishna is glorifying karma yoga in this particular verse. Right. So I think I'll stop here and take questions. So I'll just recap what we did today shortly. So today what we saw from 2.31 to 2.41. So I started my discussion by saying that Krishna in this particular section so beautifully, I mean, just think about it again. Initially he talks, you're not the body, you're Atma. And then he encourages Arjuna to act as per body, saying that, hey, you're a Kshatriya, so you should fight. Okay, so it seems contradiction, but there is no contradiction because Atma Tattva was spoken in order to tell Arjuna about his identity, which is Atma. Buddhi is spoken to give boundary to your action. And Ahankar is important, how you act in this world. Okay, that comes out of our Ahankar, and that can never be negated. The Ahankar that is to be negated is the Ahankar where you go against Vedic injunctions, where you think you are smarter than the Vedic injunctions, which Arjuna was apparently trying to do, where he was thinking that I'll not fight, I'll not do my duty, etc. So that type of Ahankar one is supposed to give up. But in line with if you can refine your Ahankar, everybody has, whether he's a sannyasi, mathadis, whether he's a Gujarati Baniya or whoever he may be. Kshatriya, everyone has that Ahankar. That Ahankar cannot be given up. And in fact, Krishna, and we discussed how Krishna is warning him that you are trying to give it up, but later you will be forced to act. And that exactly happens, right? Arjuna, he becomes very angry in presence of Yudhishthir, says, I will kill you because you told me to keep my Gandiva down. And all that. So that was one part of the discussion we saw. Okay, the importance of the right kind of ahankar. And then in the second part of the discussion today, we were seeing from Ramanuja's commentary, where he says that how there are three parts in the second chapter. First part, Krishna is talking about Atma Tattva. Then he's talking about Karma Yoga. Then he's talking about Jnana Yoga and that Samadhi stage. Okay, so somebody may say directly from after understanding I'm not the body, I'm Atma, why can't I directly go and practice Samadhi, Apurya Manamachala Pratishtam and all that process? No, you cannot. Karma Yoga is mandatory for everybody as far as the Gita is concerned. Krishna has not given any exemption to Karma Yoga to anybody. Till the end, he keeps saying the same thing. And then when he starts talking about Karma Yoga, the first thing Krishna wants to do is glorify Karma Yoga. So in order to glorify Karma Yoga, what does he do? He says, Na iha abhikramanashosti. Karma Yoga is such that it will never terminate without giving you fruit. Okay, even if you could not complete it, no problem. Fruits will be given. Okay. On the other hand, if you do any action in this world without that consciousness of Karma Yoga, and three attributes of Karma Yoga we discussed, if you do, then that doesn't apply. Then we saw the story of Soma Sharma who becomes a Brahma Rakshas. Right. So this is where we are at this point. Anybody with any questions? Then we can take. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Anyone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I was having a related question because I was hearing one Prabhupada's lecture and Prabhupada was describing that the three levels of chanting. And he was describing that if someone chants with Nam Aparad, then he goes to heavenly planet. And if someone is at the stage of Namabhas, then he gets the liberation.
Yeah.
But Shuddha Nam I couldn't understand properly. So I don't know. So what is exact difference between...
Shuddha means you'll go to the spiritual world.
Yeah, but Namabhas also one get liberated, he was telling. Prabhupada was saying.
Liberated means that can be, either Sayujya, Samipya, those 5 types of liberation.
Yeah, but my understanding, here the point.
Vraja Prem, it gives you Vraj Ras. Yeah.
Okay. But Prabhuji, Salokya also can take one to Golok, right? So because
no, generally the Salokya Samipya, they are in reference to Vaikuntha planets. They are not so much to Golok.
Okay.
Salokya and all that, Samipya and all that. That is general spoken with reference to Vaikuntha planets. And Salokya is of course spoken about Brahman.
Okay. And regarding this false ego, Prabhuji, because I have also read in one of the purport that when the false ego dissolves, then one gets liberation. So basically, when one gives up this subtle body, then one gets the liberation. So what that means in this context?
Very good. Yeah. See, please try to understand that is at a stage that is at a stage of mukti time. That means when one is leaving this world, all the elements are to be returned to their respective things. Like we read that in the Bhagavata many times. This person dissolved his earth into the earth ingredients, water with the water. That means you give up all the ingredients to the Prakriti itself, Mahat Tattva, correct?
Yes.
You remember reading that in the Bhagavatam, many places that description comes.
Yes.
So basically, see what has happened now. We have this body and this mind and ahankar, everything. When you are going back to the spiritual world, at that time, all these things are returned. See, that description is more in a sense that, yes, when you are walking that path back to Godhead, you can't go with the spirit that I'm a Kshatriya to Golok. Are you understanding the point? Or you can't go to Golok Vrindavan thinking that I'm a Brahman. So all that has to be given up. But what we are discussing is not about that time. We are discussing about now. So please try to understand one thing. Gita is Moksha Shastra, but at the same time, it is also Jivan Shastra. See, there are two things here. Jivan Shastra is how you live your life in the world. Moksha Shastra is talking about that part where you're going back. Now, Bhagavatam, primarily it is Moksha Shastra only. primarily, because Parikshit Maharaj is sitting there because he's going to die in 7 days. Are you getting the point? So it is very clear. It is Parikshit Maharaj has not come to hear from Shukadeva Goswami how he has to function in the world, because wo sab ho gaya abhi khatam. 7 दिन बचा है अभी. Correct. So Bhagavatam is primarily talking about the goal of a man about to die, right? But Gita is talking simultaneously. That's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. It is talking about moksha or spiritual world, whatever you want to look at it like that. And it is also talking about jivana, how you live your life. Okay, so what we need to understand is, when I hear these statements in the Bhagavatam that I have to give up my false ego, see, that is a part of my journey before I go back to the spiritual world. But the question is, Gita is not asking you to do that today, right now, to a 30, 40-year-old man in this world, or a woman, or a 10-year-old child, or a whatever thing. Are you getting my point? Okay, so this is supposed to be given up at a particular time. That's why you'll see in the Shastras also about Pandavas, they give up home. But when do they give up home? So please try to understand. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is, they say, 90-year-old when he is fighting the battle of Kurukshetra, because the Pandavas lived for about 125 years. Arjuna is about 87, 88 when he is fighting this battle. At that time, Krishna is telling him that as a Kshatriya, you have to fight. But that doesn't mean that till end or, whatever, he will keep fighting only. Okay, so yes, at a particular time, which is much later in life, right, where Arjuna and the Pandavas give up their royal robes and they walk to the forest. You will read that in the first canto. I think that is chapter, 15 or 16? 15, I believe, right? The Pandavas retire timely. I say chapter. They leave and they go. That time you are supposed to give up the conception. When you are walking toward death, that time you cannot be thinking, I'm Kshatriya. Okay, but then that doesn't mean that today I can do that. So the Gita very beautifully talks about life, and at the same time, it talks about moksha. Does this answer your point, Prabhuji?
Yes, quite clear. So it is basically circumstantial. That means, so when we are in a good situation, we understand this Varnashram aspect of the Gita, and when at the last stage is the final exam, that time Moksha Shastra. Okay.
Yeah. That is at a really final stage. Even Parikshit Maharaj, throughout his life, he behaved like a Kshatriya. 60 years, Parikshit Maharaj ruled the world. 66, right?
Yeah.
Coronated as king at the young age of 30 or 40. 60 years ruled. Last 7 days was the time he actually gave up everything. So, see, why this is important is sometimes what happens, you can't, see, even if you can't take that concept and you can't put it right now to somebody. Are you getting it? That's why Krishna is also not telling Arjuna at that point of time in the Mahabharata, that Are chhod do yaar, ye sab false ego hai, tum Kshatriya ho, you're not Kshatriya, you're nothing. You are just, you have to just immediately, after hearing about Atma, directly just sit and do dhyan and come back to the spiritual world or whatever. He doesn't tell him that. That's my point. Are you able to see that in the Gita?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes, Prabhuji. Quite clear.
Yeah. Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hari Bol.
Anybody else with any other question? Raise your hand.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Go ahead.
Prabhuji, when we face difficult situation in life, like we have two options, either to work hard to see the samatva, or this is good, this is bad situation, I have to tolerate, or then fight back as karma yoga. So what to choose between the two? Like what to strive for, karma yoga or samatva yoga?
Very good. See, externally it is karma yoga only. Samatva yoga is in your conscience, is internal, it is in analysis. Please try to understand, in the external sense, you have to differentiate. Like, for example, see, if you see in our Shastra, I'll give 2-3 examples. Like Ram kills Vali. Ram kills Ravan. Externally, there is action. But then internally, there is a reconciliation. If you see the chapter, when Ram kills Vali, immediately after killing, how does he deal with him? After Ram kills Ravan, how does Ram deal with Ravan's dead body? After Duryodhana is killed by Bhima, Bhima becomes so angry, he starts kicking the dead body of Duryodhana. Krishna stops him, says that, Hare, you can't do this. This person has achieved a glorious death. Can you imagine that? Krishna is telling Bhima, Hare, tum usko laat nahi maar sakte abhi.
Correct.
So please try to understand, there is samatva yoga in action. Vyavahar mein dvandva hai. Vyavahar matlab action mein there is duality. But in analysis, in your understanding, there
Okay.
is samatva. There is samatva. You have to treat that equally also. So see, when that happens, now then there is a maturity. See, you will see that Indian army also practices that. This Pakistani terrorist and all these people, when they come, Indian army captures them, they kill them, but they give them proper Islamic burial according to their rules. Are you getting it?
Correct.
See, that body is respected at that point. You cannot see एक बार हो गया वो हो गया फिर then you have to see equally only. You cannot. लेकिन वो लोग वैसा नहीं कर पाते. The Pakistani people, if you know, they will capture Indian soldier, Hindu guy. They do not give him a Hindu cremation or something, because in their understanding, in their system, ऐसा understanding ही नहीं है समत्व practice करने का. They feel
Correct.
death के बाद भी वो enmity maintain करते हैं व्यक्ति के साथ. That we cannot do. Okay.
Correct.
So externally, you may practice whatever is needed. Like the Pandavas, externally they practice. See, if you don't understand this, you can become like Gandhi. Gandhi का characteristic क्या था? उसको external में practice करना था समत्व योगा. Look at everybody equally. No, you cannot. Internally, that dvandva is going to be there, but in your analysis, in your understanding, you sort it out. And you will see in our Shastra, कोई भी demon हो, मरने के बाद ना उसको बहुत ही मतलब you'll see that when Ram kills Vali, see the conversation Ram has with Vali. He sorts it out with him, and Vali also understands that yes, I have done a mistake. I have accepted my this thing. Even Ravan, when Ram kills Ravan, how Ram talks to Vibhishan. He says, "Come on, this person, he's a great person. You know, whatever it is, he's dead now. It's all over now. Let us do the final rites properly and give him a very good farewell." So in analysis, you see there is an equality being done.
Yes.
Very, very important part to understand, right? And let me tell you another thing. How many times it will happen that we have to deal with enemies like Bali or Ravan like that in our life? Very less. Yeah, we have. Like now this Kerala, this love jihad and thing is going on, right?
Correct.
Files. So you cannot see samatva matlab, oh, okay, let them love the girls and go. No, it's not like that. I was recently speaking to one raw officer. He was telling that, do you know this? I mean, the government of India gets 150, they get a list, it seems, every month through their agencies. Almost 150 Hindu girls monthly in Kerala, they get converted. They get a list with their Hindu name, with their converted name, with whom they got married to.
Oh.
Not some false thing. मतलब उनको list मिलता है government को. I just spoke recently to one person, right? So he told me that they get that list. Okay? So he was telling me that 150 per month means साल में कम से कम 1800 लोग, 2000 girls a year. And if you multiply in the last 20 years, that's how they have arrived at the 32,000 figure. So he says 32,000 figure is correct only. I mean, so many girls have actually got converted. Of course, everyone has not gone to ISIS or something. That's some 100, 150 people have gone in Afghanistan and all that by being influenced by that radical ideology. So when you are fighting against such ideologies in life, in the external world, now you cannot say samatvam. Okay, let a Brahmin girl marry a Brahmin girl, or let a Muslim man marry a Brahmin girl. What difference does it make? Let us see them equally. No, that equality is at a different level, right? In the external world, you have to see that dvandva only. You have to see that, and you have to see how to sort it out, how to take some action against it, or how to fight against it. Otherwise, you'll become a Gandhi. It's a completely meaningless proposal. मतलब महात्मा गांधी का वही तो problem था ना. मतलब he went to an extreme sense of samatva yoga in action, which Krishna never spoke only in the Gita. वो उसका खुद का understanding था गीता के बाद. Are you understanding?
Correct. Yes, Prabhuji. Perfect.
Very good.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. So maybe I'm trying to reconcile the concept that you are mentioning, and maybe last time you touched about this Kerala stories, last point you. So maybe this may be different understanding. So you mentioned, okay, Krishna says we need to see everyone equally, Brahmana, Kshatriya, cow, and then Chandala. So the other point that we are bringing is, let's say we see the examples of demons, and then or maybe soldiers killing the Pakistan soldiers, and then after death we are trying to see them equally. So one point I see now, one point Krishna says, okay, Janma, it's not based on the Janma, it's based on the Karma, Janma Karma. Chaturvanya Maya Shustam. Guna Karma Vibhagasha. He says like, okay, that point in time we say, okay, everybody is born Shudra, but other way around we take it, then we say, okay, when it comes to like most of the times, like it's mainly decided by birth. Like we say, like somebody is born in this family, this person becomes, and they follow. Like, he is Muslim, but other way around, I see like then many times even in devotee communities we fail to see other people equally. So like, okay, these are karmi, even like we don't give them equal status. Okay, these are karmi, not even humans. So maybe humans, but yeah, maybe, and try to like create isolations around this. And I feel like it creates more um, um, conspiracy. Like maybe sometimes I hear like read about this Kerala story. Some people say, okay, only 3 girls got converted. They needed to change from 30,000 or whatever. You are saying, okay, on the basis of someone, he's saying 150 girls per month are converted. But one way I see, like sometimes we hear in the news media, okay, these may be political stories. They have some agenda. People are throwing these stories around, and then if the story is told 100 times, it becomes truth.
Okay. Yeah, I'll answer all these things. Just give me a couple of minutes. Yeah, got it. Yeah, you have anything more to ask in that?
Yeah. So what I feel is like maybe sometimes like we see like this government is supporting, let's say, dharma or maybe some principles, but let's say we hear like different things where it looks like, okay, they have their own agenda. Let's say when we hear about RSS, like sometimes they don't believe in like this is atheistic philosophy. Some point in time, like now they are saying, and they are getting closer to all the organizations from where they can influence maybe voters. That's my understanding. It may be wrong, but maybe there are different sides to it.
Okay.
Like they can go to Ramakrishna Math, they can say, okay, we are support this. They go to, let's say, this Swaminarayan, they'll say, okay, this is good. Because anyway, this is vote bank for them.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, I got it, Prabhuji. I got what you're trying to say. See, 2-3 things you said which I want to address. One thing is about this birth thing. You know, when Gita says na Chaturvarnya Maya Shreshtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, please try to understand that birth is part of guna. Please try to understand this. Birth is part of guna. So birth cannot be completely negated. In fact, if birth is completely negated, why is Krishna saying in the 6th chapter that the unsuccessful yogi is born in the family of a Brahmana or in a mercantile family? Are you trying to understand the point? If birth is not important, my point to you is, why is Krishna saying later in the 6th chapter, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate? Okay, so this whole idea, na, see, when we say Kalo Shudra Sambhavet also, let's not take that argument too much to indicate. See, what that Kalo Shudra Sambhavet would mean is, yes, the Shudra-ness, if you want to call it like that, or the nature of being a Shudra is kind of pervading everybody. Even the Brahmana is affected by that Shudra nature. That is how you're supposed to look at it. But that doesn't mean that everyone is literally at the equal level. No, it is not like that. How can it be like that? Even if you see logically, statistically, anywhere in the world, in any community, people who are born, they have characteristics of that community. You look at all the Gujjus, Marwadi guys, they're business guys. You look at Brahmins in general, they're intellectuals everywhere. You know, like we have discussed many times, you go to IITs also, you go and see, disproportionately they are higher in numbers, 60-65%. You know, though they may be just 2% of the population. So wherever intellectualism is, they will find their place there. Okay. Similarly with all other castes, you go to the army, you will see in the Indian army the Sikhs, the Jat, you know, these Nepali people, Gurkha, they will be there in larger numbers than perhaps any other people. Some may have come for money, but the point is, so you know, we cannot take, so sometimes in our classes we make some generalizations like Kalau Shudra Sambhavet to indicate literally everybody is at one level. That is taking that argument a little too far. Okay, so that argument has a basis, Kalau Shudra Sambhavet, but the basis is limited to this, that everyone is affected. Even the Brahman in Kali Yuga is affected by certain Shudra nature. You know, he's not able to maintain that level of purity of a Brahmin, which perhaps somebody in ancient ages made. Okay. So we have to understand this. So to basically completely negate birth, Gita only doesn't stand for that. Okay, as I told you, otherwise, why is Krishna saying Suchinam Srimatam Gehe? He could have said Shudra Gehe Yoga Prashto Vijayate. Why? Because it is a fact that in a certain circumstance, when you are born, you get certain opportunities. Now, you may not use that opportunity. Like we see, many people may be born in Brahmana family or something, but they don't use that opportunity at all. That's their misfortune. Okay, so this is one part of what I wanted to say. Second thing, na Prabhuji, about this political RSS, etc. I mean, this is taking the argument a little far, but still, since you asked, I would wish to say there is something called a platform of dharma. Okay, where there is a necessity to see an equality, samatva. Okay, so we may not agree with the ultimate goal of, maybe like you said, some Ramakrishna mission, Swaminarayan, or somebody, in terms of the ultimate goal, in terms of where we want to go. Like as devotees of Krishna, we want to go to Golok Vrindavan. Maybe they want they have some other aspiration or whatever. That part we may disagree. Okay, but on a platform of dharma, we agree. Protecting cows, we all agree cows have to be protected. Okay, protecting Vedic culture. Okay, so there are so many things on the dharma platform that we agree with these people. We have to see there also samatva. Okay, so we cannot constantly see the divisive nature. See, that's why when we say our philosophy is achintya beda abeda, there may be beda. Yes, there is beda, I agree. But there is abeda also, which we are supposed to look. We are supposed to look at abeda with all human beings also at that level. Okay. And at the same time, we are supposed to look at abeda with various other spiritual organizations also. So this thing that, to see too much as, oh, these people, just because they are not accepting the highest message of Gita, that one has to surrender to Krishna and become a devotee of Krishna, I will just completely reject them, I have nothing to do with them. That may not be a working strategy actually, because we need such people, because until dharma exists, unless the Veda exists, the fruit of Bhagavat will not come on it. So please try to understand, Nigama Kalpatoror Galitam Phalam. Bhagavatam is the fruit, but that fruit comes from the tree of Vedic culture. So if there are somebody else who is preserving Vedic culture, then we need to be in that level, at least a samatva with them. Not that we are doing anything for them, but at least intellectually, we have to understand that yes, these people are also preserving that same Vedic tree only from which this fruit of love of God is going to come. The fruit of love of God is not going to come in the air. It's going to come on the tree of the Vedic culture, which many of these organizations are protecting. Okay. Now, as far as political things concerned, yes, again, yes, somebody may be using something as political tool, etc. So I wish to clarify again, the persons I talk to are actually very respected officers who know data. In fact, I know someone, I can't take names and all that because it's on a public channel here, but people who have actually worked with in such situations in Kerala as Indian intelligence. So senior people. So they're so whatever I'm saying, this is not some some fake news or something. It is a fact that thousands of girls have been converted. Of course, everyone 32,000 or something didn't go to Syria or something. That part is obviously wrong if someone says like that. Only around 150. I mean, if you whether you want to look at 150 as a very big number or a small number, that is up to you. But 150 people from Kerala went to this ISIS and all that, influenced by this extreme ideology. Out of which the number of Hindu girls are said to be around 25, 30. Okay, so that number is still lesser. But that's not the point. The point is the number of 150 or this number of thousands of girls over a period of time getting converted is actually true. Okay, that there is no doubt about it. That everybody understands that. Okay, the only thing is that so many didn't go to Afghanistan and Syria. That part we understand. Now somebody may use it for their political purposes or what, but we have to understand that. See again, just because someone uses for political purpose, they have to see again. Are those people who are using it for political reasons or whatever, are they at least standing with dharma? If they are standing with dharma, then we have to again be with them, because please try to understand, there is a samatvam. Are you understanding? So suppose a political party is there who is standing for dharma, at least who is saying that I will stand for dharma, they helped in the construction of Ram Mandir or whatever. Okay, you have to see the samatvam there. We cannot say that, oh, because he wants he's using these things for his political growth. Okay, so everybody in the world uses something, uses situations like that, right? But ultimately, there is some watering of the Vedic tree that is being done. Okay, so this is very important. So please try to understand. So we are going to practice our faith of Krishna consciousness, chanting 16 rounds and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the deity. All that we will do. Okay, but at the same time, protecting the Vedic culture is whoever is doing. any other organization, any political party, even if they say that they are going to protect Vedic culture, I think that that has to be considered, because if the Vedic dharma itself doesn't exist, as I told you before, the fruit of love of God will not come from the air. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with your points. Maybe what I'm hearing from you is like, okay, these numbers may be distorted, but we can't ignore like there is conversion going on.
Yeah, no, numbers distorted only in terms of numbers going to Syria, but the numbers
Yeah.
converted are true only. Please try to understand.
Yeah, and on this conversion point, what I see like one issue I see like because of this is based on like birth system. Like we see in India tradition, it's based on birth. Like that's why maybe some community who is getting converted now. Like many times these are lower caste or maybe people who are ignored.
Sorry
So like if you see in the
one second. Sorry to stop you here. I had an officer who spoke to one girl in Afghanistan. She's a Hindu girl, upper caste. Her mother is a trustee in a temple in Kerala. Her father is an army officer. Her brother is an army officer. This girl is a doctor, educated girl. See, what has happened now, Prabhuji, many of the Hindu families, now, they have not taught anything about Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma to their children in the last 20, 30 years. This is a very big problem, because they have not taught anything. These people, now the opposite, are the enemies of Sanatana Dharma. They radically and very structured way they teach their religion. However imperfect it is, but the way they teach is very structured. So they are able to attack like anything. And unfortunately, many of these gullible people, they get influenced by this radical thought process and they leave and go. So, this person was telling me that they have even spoken to some such girls who went to Afghanistan among this 25, 30. Many are upper caste. Many are coming from very good families in Kerala, etc. Okay, so and another thing he told me is that even the girls who are in India only converted and getting married among the other thousands of people, they are also very radical, sitting in India only, but very radical, because converted naya naya mulla jor se chillata hai, they say. So very radical in their thought process. So actually, when I was hearing all this, I was feeling that as devotees, we need to, the outreach has to be more. I personally also am trying in my own way, whatever, but I think each of us should see how in our own area of influence we can even talk about basic essential teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Sanatan Dharma to people in general. It is very important for people to come to know that. Because again, please remember, even today, if you see ISKCON also, all over the world, ISKCON is running basically on Indian people only, right? Everywhere in the world. If you go America, Europe, who are the primary donors, supporters of ISKCON temples? Come on, it's all Indians.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and the reason is very simple, because the love of God can come only in connection to a Vedic tree. See, someone like Srila Prabhupada had that power. I mean, we can appreciate Srila Prabhupada for his ability to, convert these Westerners, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever he did in his short span of 12 years preaching career. But today we see how difficult that is to get one Western man or woman is so difficult, because that connection to Vedic tree is not there. Okay, so Prabhupada also said, elephant, even if it is dead, it is very useful. The Indian Vedic tradition, even though you may say it is dying or whatever, but still that has a power to give you that fruit. Okay, and that's what we see world over. So we cannot simply think that I only want the fruit, I have nothing to do with the tree. वो थोड़ा वो अर्ध कुकटन यहाँ हो जाता है ना hen का. I only want the egg and don't want the hen only. The hen is, I mean, in this context, the hen I'm saying is representing the broad Vedic culture, and the egg. I'm sorry to use that example, but that egg in this context is the of course it's not a good example, so let's leave it. But I hope you understood what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Agree, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we had a very intense discussion. I'm not sure whether, yeah, I hope it made sense to whoever was staying. Hare Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gita Gaur Premanande.